People today, they're afraid of pain. They're afraid of being hurt. And so they want to be invulnerable. The slightest problem in a relationship, they're just going to give up and swipe and find somebody else. When it comes to finding your life's task, which is the first chapter of Mastery, it's the most important thing in life. Because when you find out what you were meant to create, the whole world just opens up. So I have in my Sublime book, I have a chapter called The Love Sublime.
Oh.
And that's actually what I'm editing right now.
Yay.
And so the idea is that people today are so, I feel like a problem that a lot of younger people have, and I don't mean to preach here, but they're afraid of pain. They're afraid of being hurt. And so they want to be invulnerable. And so at the slightest problem in a relationship, they're just going to give up and swipe and find somebody else. And in this chapter, I'm talking about the metaphor we use is falling in love. And I like that sort of metaphor of falling. And people will kind of fall a little bit and then they'll go, oh, no, I don't want to get hurt, so on to somebody else. But this, what I'm writing in here is if you just keep falling and falling and falling and falling and falling, and you lose all that defensiveness that we all have, something, rather magical and transcendental can happen where you can anticipate others' thoughts, where you feel like the boundaries between two people are dissolving. And then that's when it becomes sublime and it reaches that kind of level.
I know that part of it is that people are afraid of falling in love, but do you think another part of it is that people just feel like they have so many more options nowadays from dating apps and social media, where it's not just that they're afraid, but that they're too scared to commit?
Well, how about afraid and too scared? What's the difference?
They're afraid to commit because they think they can find something better versus they're afraid to commit because they think it's going to hurt.
I'm wondering if unconsciously there might be the same thing going on, right? So, first of all, there's nothing wrong if you don't want to commit. I'm not judging that. That's perfectly fine. And believe me, when I was in my 20s, I was like that myself. But a lot of people, you're looking for something that's kind of deeper than just, every 3 months. That can get kind of boring after a while, and it can become very unsatisfying. So deep down, if you don't want that, if you're avoiding that, then I'm saying unconsciously you are afraid of commitment. You're not scared that there's somebody better. It's just that you're worried that you're going to be hurt if you let yourself fall like that. If you give up if you become vulnerable, then you're opening yourself to a lot of pain. And so I'm just seeing a lot of, and I'm not judging, because people of the Generation Z, or even the millennials, you've gone through incredibly difficult times that I never had to deal with, with the economy, with the pandemic. And so being a little risk averse is very understandable. But I think it comes from a level of fear more than I have all of these options. Because at some point, maybe you don't want to have like endless swiping. Maybe you do want to have some kind of commitment. You're rolling your eyes. Please argue with me.
I'm taking it in. I think the two are connected, but I so often hear girlfriends who go on dates, and when it doesn't work out, it goes back to, oh, this person is just afraid of commitment. And I have seen these people, date like 50 women and still not find a girlfriend, which kind of does suggest that they probably would have found the person by then, at least if you believe in the secretary problem. So I hear you, and I think there's some truth there, but I think it's a mix.
A mix of what?
That it's not the same thing still. That having more optionality available to you than ever before does sort of change your values and what you desire.
Yes. Yeah.
And even things like marriage that used to be valued much more highly by society before, these institutions seem to be decaying.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bigger paradigm shift than just fear.
Now, you might think you have more possibilities, but back in the day before Tinder and the whole thing, I had as many options as anybody else. I could go to a bar. I could meet people, I was pretty bold. I was a rake, right? It wasn't that difficult. It's not like I didn't have options. There are always hundreds and thousands of women out there. Okay, so maybe it's a lot easier now, and that kind of changes your psychology. But the desire is still there for something deeper, right? Underneath all of that, there's something deeper that you want. And if you're not feeling that, if you're avoiding that desire, then I think it comes from fear. It's fear of being vulnerable. Because if you're saying this paradigm shift with flipping through that, well, you're still a human being, right? And you're still afraid of something deeper happening to you. I don't know why we're disagreeing on that.
I agree that the deeper meaning is there and that people are looking for this.
I mean, look, men and women are different, so we can go there, that the appeal of the variety is going to appeal more to men because men are traditionally more promiscuous.
Right.
So there is that difference there. But a point is reached if you're a man and you've been swiping and you've had hundreds of women where you get tired of it and you want something else and you're 34, 35 years old.
Okay, I think that's part of how I'm thinking through it.
Okay.
So I've also heard this thing that men don't settle when they find the right person. They settle when they're ready and they want a wife and a family and they're ready for that next stage.
Sure.
So why does the fear suddenly change after they've dated enough people and they start wanting a family rather than, let's say, in their 20s or early 30s?
Well, you're in a different stage of life. But I'm thinking that even nowadays, that's changed a little bit, where we're not seeing as many people in long-term relationships, as many commitments, or marriage rates are falling, and so I'm still saying that there's still that fear of commitment. But even for the men who've finally decided, you want a family, you want something else, maybe you get tired of it, and maybe not for all the best reasons in the world. Maybe there's financial reasons as well. Or maybe it's mostly the desire for settling down. I know that's what happened to me. I got kind of bored with it, and I did want to settle down at some point. And also I found that life very chaotic. And I like kind of order. I'm a Taurus, and I like things to be kind of orderly so I can do my work. I know so having a long-term relationship is kind of helping me that, whereas in my 20s, I didn't feel that way so much.
So then would you say that you overcame...
Wow, go ahead.
I love watching you. No, please keep going.
No, you're very rational and very interesting. Go ahead.
Okay. I think it's not that I disagree with you that fear isn't a part of the equation. It's more that I think there's other factors that are also involved. Like what you're saying now, when you finally met your wife and decided to settle, maybe part of that fear had changed, but also your desires and what you wanted had changed. So that helped with deciding to pick a partner.
What were these desires?
Desires that you had maybe dated enough women in your 20s, you were ready for the next stage of your life.
Yeah.
You saw so many people and realized that was not what actually was giving meaning to your life and that a real partner would.
Yeah.
And that's the same as overcoming fear to you?
No, I'm just saying that people nowadays, because of the chaotic circumstances of the world and of their lives, and even with all of those options of swiping, it's too much. It's like overloading your brain, right? And so it gives you this sense of instability. And so it's almost easier to be doing that than to actually give the commitment, because you're opening yourself up to some kind of hurt and to some pain. And people, I think, are trying to avoid that very much. They're trying to avoid being vulnerable and being open to pain. And this is an easy excuse for them. So people often talk about the internet is changing people's brains. And I don't believe that. I think it's just simply playing into the weaknesses in human nature that are already there. And so the fear of commitment that men have probably had for ages has always been there. And this just makes it easier to kind of justify, I've got all of these different options. I don't think I checkmated you here on this, but that's all right.
What do you think separates, in addition to the 10,000 hours, someone who's a real master versus just average? And how do you think young people can try to sort through sort the signal from the noise and find something that they have the potential to be a master at? I think mastery creates reward. I've always found, don't follow your passion, follow your talent, where you can develop mastery. Help young people. A lot of people will say, how do I find my mastery?
Well, the first part of your question, I mean, some people will spend 20,000 hours, I don't know, just put a number on it, and they don't end up becoming a master. So this man wrote to me, said, I've been a painter for my whole life. I've been painting for 40 years. I'm in my 50s now, and I'm not a master. So Robert, that debunks your idea. And what I tell him, my answer to that is, it's not a question of hours. It's a question of intensity. What makes a master is somebody who, by the time they're 25, have put in the amount of work that you have put in by the time you're in your 50s. Because the human brain is most creative and most fluid when you are younger. And so you want to build those hours in that intense practice and discipline when you were younger, because that's when you were most creative. So that by the time you have put in a lot of hours and things start clicking in your brain, you're 29, you're 30, the brain is fluid, things are happening, you've got energy, amazing things will happen. It won't happen. It can happen, but it won't be as likely to happen when you're in your 50s and 60s. You're more set in your ways, you're more rigid, your brain is slowing down. So it has to be a function of intensity. But when it comes to finding your life's task, which is the first chapter of mastery, and quite frankly, to me, it's the most important thing in life. Even in Power, of all the books that I've written, it's the most important thing for anyone to find in life. Because when you find out what you were meant to create, what your task is, what you say your talent lies in, there has to be, of course, an element of love in it. The whole world just opens up, right? You will gain power. You will be good in the seduction game. Men or women will come to you because you're moving in the direction that your brain wants you to move in. You're learning quickly. You're becoming creative, and you fulfill, your dreams from when you were younger.